Yo, it's DJ Sus One, the feature presentation. We got a big talent on the platform today. First of all, she represents East New York, Brooklyn, New York. All right.
Yes.
If you were born and raised in New York City, then you understand what East New York is.
Yes.
She's starring in the new Transformers movie. Big deal in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Dominique Fishback. What's going on?
Yes, what's up? What's up? I'm so happy to be talking to you. I
How
love that
are you?
intro. That's so Brooklyn, so New York intro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I gotta do it. Yo, we from New York. I gotta make sure that anybody who listens to this platform from other parts of the world understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I went to high school in Brownsville too, so it's deep.
Okay, nice. Yo, I don't even want to talk about. I actually do want to talk about that, like how I was being raised in Brooklyn. But first, tell me how, since you're new to my platform, we're gonna get into Transformers, but how did you get into acting? Because I heard that you started getting into acting and was interested when you were 10 years old. Is that true?
Yeah, so I saw a musical theater company come to my school when I was 8. And I auditioned from 8 to 10 3 times and never got in. But my mom, when I was 10, was like, Dom, I think you should be an actress. I think you could really do it. You're so dramatic. And she didn't really know how to get me into it. And then when I was 15, she told me that she was going to have a baby. And so for whatever reason, my 15-year-old mind said, well, now she's really not going to know how to get me into acting. She's going to have a whole brand new baby. So I started Googling free acting programs for kids in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And I found this theater company.
Wait. How old were you Googling?
I was 15.
Wow, you was on.
And I
early.
just got on a computer one day and I just remember being like, free. Like, I just need free.
I heard you.
And then I found this theater company called MCC, Youth Company. In order to act, you had to write your own stuff. So I started in theater, and then I went to college, went to Pace University for acting, and that was kind of how it started.
Yeah, I want to get to Pace University, but I also heard that when you was, besides trying to get into acting when you was in Brooklyn, you was playing basketball.
Oh, yes, 100%. I played football, too. Great quarterback. I was safety in middle school.
You played football and basketball?
Yes, so when I was in middle school. Sorry, what did you say?
I was going to say, what made you not take one of those seriously? What made you take acting seriously over basketball, over football?
Well, football happened when I was in middle school, and I was like the only girl on the co-ed flag football team. I was playing safety, and one day rehearsal. Look at me. Practice got canceled, and I went into the gym, and the boys were running laps, and I asked the coach if I could shoot around, and I started shooting, and it was going in, and he was like, "Fishback, you want to be on the team, the girls basketball team?" I was like, "I don't play no basketball." He was like, "Yeah, you could learn." So I asked my football coach, and she was like, well, it was a woman too. It was a guy and a woman. She was like, well, you have a better chance like doing something with basketball than with football. So I would say you should try to do the basketball team. So I was like, okay, cool. So I did that. And then acting, I just always had that, like, I always loved acting. And so I would leave basketball practice in high school on Tuesdays and go to NYU to practice this theater company.
I love it.
When I got older, it started being like, oh, they were kind of conflicting with each other. And when I got to college, I had to make a choice if I was going to go to Westchester and play basketball, or if I was going to stay.
I'm from Westchester, by the way. Well, actually, I'm originally from Brooklyn, but I left Brooklyn when I was 9 years old, and I grew up in Westchester. So shout out to Brooklyn.
But yeah, it was like, I think it was Westchester. They have a Pace University in Westchester, White Plains or something. And so they didn't have a basketball team in New York. So I just knew that acting was more my calling, and that I could always act like I can play basketball on a movie. Like anything you want to do as an actor, you could always do. If you wanted to be a boxer, if you're an actor, you can be a boxer. Like you can do anything you want to do as an actor.
Well, you chose acting. Before we get into the acting, were you even nice at basketball though, or were you on the bench?
I was number 3 like Ivo. First of all, I was number 3 like Iverson. I had to be point guard by force, but I love shooting guard, and I averaged 20 points a game. My game high was 39 points. Ask about me, you know what I'm saying?
I'm asking. I have property in Brooklyn. I'm gonna go out there and be like, yo, you know about Fishback? She was nice.
Yes, do that.
See what they say out there. All right, so you went to Pace University. You got into acting. You got a BA in theater. Congratulations on all that. As if you're not in Transformers, by the way. What was on your mind? Like, what do you think your first into the game was? Like your first, like, I could really, really do this. I know you had it in your mind. I know you had it in your soul, but a lot of people, are into acting. A lot of people move out to LA and be like, I'm gonna get into this, and it never happens. What was your first, like, into the game?
So I think graduating college and writing my one-woman show called Subverted, which is about the destruction of Black identity in America, and I play like 22 different characters. And I wrote it, and people came to see. And I just think once I was able to write something that I created, like full out like that and see it through, I knew that the only thing that was going to stop me was myself. You know, a lot of times if I was thankful that I went to that company that said, in order to act, you have to write. Because that made me find my voice, understand what I want to say, understand character development and story arc and things like that. And so I wasn't confined to the same things that a lot of my classmates were confined to, because they were relying on other people to cast them more than just like creating their own stuff. So I left school with the one-woman show, and that helped. And then getting on the David Simon show.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, you start working with people like Jamie Foxx.
Yes.
And that was Project
amazing.
Power.
And now Jamie Foxx is he's EP in my one-woman show.
Really?
Yes.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice. Well, how was it working at the beginning? I know you had a relationship with him now, but at the beginning stages, how was it working with Jamie?
Amazing. I remember my audition for my chemistry test with him. I remember thinking, how am I going to show up? Because it was an emotional scene that I had to do. I was like, am I going to just be emotional? But I wanted him to see my personality. When the car that I was in pulled up, his car pulled up at the same time. And I was just like, Mr. Jamie Foxx. And he was like, whoa, your energy is crazy. And it was just felt very familiar. And then when I get into the chemistry test, I have to do a scene where Robin is rapping. And then afterwards, we're sitting there and he goes, you rap in real life? I'm like, nah, but I do spoken word poetry. He was like, oh, go and do something for us then. So I was like, all right. That's, again, that theater training, doing spoken word. That's all I do. So it wasn't like, oh my God, Jamie's asking me. It's like, now that's easy. I could do that. So I got up and did a piece called An Ode to My Hood, which is a conversation that I have with Brooklyn, where I personify Brooklyn, and we're having a conversation because Brooklyn feels like I'm going to get famous and never come back. And I'm like, no, Brooklyn, you don't do me like that. Like, we having this conversation. So I did that for him, and everybody was just blown away. And then I didn't get the part.
Oh, wow. Really?
I didn't get the part. And I was like, what? And then a month later, my agent called me and says, hey, you got the part because the other girl's schedule didn't work out. And so they want you in New Orleans. And I was like, oh.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I know, right? I know, right? Second.
Yo, what are you talking about? All right, well, whatever. It was meant to be. God put it in your hands. You know what I'm saying? And then you went on to do incredible movies and TV shows like Judas and the Black Messiah, Swarm. You start working with Samuel Jackson. You know what I'm saying? How was it working with the great Samuel Jackson? Which, by the way, I think Samuel Jackson has been in more movies than anybody on earth, I think.
Probably. He is always working. I don't know. I think he's 73 now or something like that. And I just remember he's like, oh yeah, after this, I'm going to do X, like Marvel thing or something. Like, it was just like crazy. And I'm like, I'm tired already. I got to get a stamina like his.
Yo, he's in a lot of big brand movies, but how was his energy working with him?
Yeah. What I appreciated about him is like, his brand is exactly who he is. So he always
he's be like, motherfucker this.
Like, yeah, 100%. Like, what you see is pretty much what you're gonna get. And I appreciate that, because a lot of times I think especially as actresses and young Black actresses, you think, oh, I have to show up on set and be a certain way. But really, if this is your career and it's what you're gonna do for your lifetime, then you have to leave space for who you are, really, for you to authentically be yourself. And know that it's okay to be human. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have cramps and not be as bubbly as you was before. You don't have to always be performing, and you're still worthy. And that was a good thing that I learned.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've been very blessed, Jill. And now, come on, man, Transformers, Rise of the Beast.
Yes.
Yo, bro.
I call it Rise of the East.
Right up. Or Beast from the East. There used to be a hip hop record called Beast from the East with the Lost Boys, Cannabis. I'm talking hip hop talk now.
Yeah.
But yo, how does it feel to be part and starring in one of the biggest brands and franchises ever?
I know. I think I'm still pinching myself. I think when I see it on the big screen, or we're starting this tour where we go to Singapore and all these different places, and you see all the fan love, I think I'll feel it. Right now, it almost feels like I know I did Transformers, but I don't know what it feels like to like be in Transformers yet.
Oh, you won't feel it.
Because I haven't got the energy of the fans in person. So I'm very excited about that. But it really is a blessing. I remember writing a letter to all of them, to like the producers and stuff, and saying how, you know, important this was, like for other people and other young women from all over the world to be able to see somebody that look like them lead something like this is incredible.
Super incredible. And I wanted to know, did you even know what Transformers was before you got the role? You know, Transformers have been around since the 80s. You know, I grew up in the 80s. It was a cartoon. Then, you know, that later on they did the movie and it became a big franchise. But a lot of, I don't want to make it a female male thing, but I'm gonna be honest, a lot of females I know don't know what Transformers is. Did you even
know? They don't know what it is. To me, that's great. I did know what Transformers was, but I definitely was more into like the romance movies when I was younger, and not the Transformers cartoons and things like that. But I loved Disney, and I loved even Stevens, and I would watch Shia, and I remember Shia went from doing this TV to doing Disney to being a mega movie star, and it was him doing Transformers, and so I watched it and said, oh, okay, I got to do something like that. Like, you know, like I was like, my mind was working, I got to do something like that, and I just didn't know that it would actually be that.
Nah, you know it. You knew you was gonna get maybe not Transformers, but
that's what I'm saying. I knew it was gonna be something. I said, okay, something like that. So I was okay with it, something like that. I knew it was gonna be great, but then for it to be this is like the cherry on top of the opportunity or the ability to manifest and call things into your life.
Congratulations. Tell me about the role, Elena Wallace. Tell me about it.
You know where that Wallace come from, don't you?
Yeah, Christopher Wallace. Come on. As soon as I hear the word Wallace, I'm thinking Biggie. And by the way, Biggie's my favorite rapper of all time. He didn't get to, you know, really become what he was going to be. And he still was the king. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Tell me about Elena Wallace.
Yes, Elena. So she works at a museum. She's an artifacts researcher. And right now she feels like she can't get a handle on her life because her boss keeps taking credit for her work. And this is in the 90s and things like that. And so, and I think also she's really smart. She's always heading the books. I think her imagination runs wild, but she's not brave enough to actually see adventures in real life. And then Noah comes into her life and the Autobots come into her life, and then she has to heed the call like we all get in our lives. There's moments where you get a call and it's like, are you going to be brave enough to do something different than what you've always done? Or are you going to stay the same? And she heeds the call. And so does Noah in his life. So.
Nice. And guys, I know I asked her about Elena Wallace. That's the character she's playing, just to be very, very, very clear. You know what I'm saying? So it takes place in the 90s. Am I correct?
Yes. 1994.
How did that feel? Like, how did they construct the set? Were they driving old Acura Legends? Like, what was going on on the set?
Definitely period cars. But we shot in Montreal, a lot of exterior, because it sometimes it's like a city, like old cities kind of look like your city before. So Montreal probably looks more like 90s Brooklyn than Brooklyn could ever look right now. And that was the same thing for Judas and the Black Messiah. We filmed in Cleveland because Cleveland now looks more like Chicago then. So you had to find those kind of locations that bring the authenticity of it. But really, authenticity came from Stephen Caple Jr. direction, his intentionality of wanting it to be 90s, hip hop, Brooklyn, cultural. And then he went and got 2 Brooklyn kids. Like I was watching a clip because I didn't know at first, but they got Anthony, and Anthony is from Brooklyn, and I knew him before this, and we were friends before that. And then after he got I guess it was going to take place in Queens, or the character was going to be from Queens. But Anthony came in, Stephen thought it was only right because he's from Brooklyn. Like, why not? And then Stephen really wanted me to be in it. And then lo and behold, I'm also from Brooklyn. So it just spoke to him, and then we circled it around that. So I'm very excited.
I'm very excited because I'm first of all, as you can see, I collect retro stuff. I like Transformers, and it's taking place in the 90s. I'm going to be paying attention. I want to see, am I going to see Tower Records? Am I going to see, some of these stores or anything? I want to see how they put it together as far as the atmosphere of the 1990s in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? What can people expect as far as from your perspective of the new Transformers movie as a whole?
Yeah, I think like there's reasons why things work. They've been working the way they've been working. They've been working for so long in a certain way. Like there's the hero heeds the call, they go on the journey. And so there's really nothing new under the sun ever. When the way you get new things is based off of perspective. And so the perspective has changed because we've never had Brooklyn kids have their mind blown by Autobots from space who turn into cars. Like you just, you don't see that perspective. So the charisma, the swag, the accent.
Can you just say the New York swag? All right, thank you.
What'd you say?
The New York swag.
100%. But there's no swag more than New York swag. So all I gotta say is swag, baby. and then you get that, and that's a whole fresh perspective. And I think it also opens up the world of Transformers for other people to see themselves. It's not just me and Anthony, but even the people who voice the Autobots. It's so diverse, and that people can listen and say, "Oh, that sounds like my aunt. That sounds like my sister. That sounds like my brother. That sounds like my teacher."
Yeah,
and then they're starting to feel like it's unified. I think
that's amazing. I'm a little confused, and we're gonna wrap up in a second, but the movie takes place before the first Transformers movie, correct? Obviously, yes. But after the Bumblebee movie, is that what's going on?
So Bumblebee was in the 80s, and this one is in the 90s.
So it's like 92, 93, something like that.
It's 1994.
Okay. Yep. Got it. All right. Well, what can people expect for the future of Dominique, Miss Fishback?
Ooh, I think the short answer is just more writing. I've always wanted to do music.
Really?
I've been learning. Yeah.
What kind of music?
I do piano. I've been learning piano, but
really?
My first cover that I did was a cover of Song Cry. It's on my Instagram. It's I kept the hook by Jay-Z, obviously. I kept the hook and I changed the verses to be my own story. I love Lauryn Hill's MTV Unplugged. And so when I think about an EP, I think about something along those veins where you have, I'm learning guitar as well. You have spoken word or singing and just, but more so a spiritual reckoning of music from your soul. Like that's what I really care about. So, but that's writing, and I'm working on a poetry book, and I'm working on a epic romance screenplay. That's my dream role, is to be in a really epic romance that stands the test of time. So I said, it'd be great if somebody writes it, but in the meantime, if they don't write it, I'm writing it for myself. So I've been working on that. And I plan on doing a little bit of a school tour in East New York after Transformers, called the Domino Effect Tour. So that, and then I have this saying, I have a tattoo and it says, "Be yourself, love." And it's in my mom's handwriting. And I think that that's really what's gotten me through all these interviews. It could be very nerve-wracking to talk about different things, but if I am myself, then I can't go wrong. If I try to conform or be what I think other people want me to be, that's the same thing for auditioning for Transformers or anything else. You have to be yourself, be loved. Exactly. And then everything else falls into place. So I just plan on carrying my own things out. I think the deal that I made with God is like, he'll let me have all of the major things. You can have Transformers, you can do all that stuff, but you always have to tell your truth from your own words, your own perspective, your own mouth, like behind your name and your likeness, and not only behind characters. So I'm trying to keep that promise by talking, because I realized too, like doing Transformers, you never know why things happen in your life, but I've been very open about the things I experienced. And I filmed Transformers and then came home and found out that my stepdad had been shot 5 times.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
While I was filming, and nobody told me because I was away in Peru and they didn't want to bring that to me. He's alive and well, yet again, and all that kind of stuff. But it was like I was back home and I was looking at the dichotomy that was my life. Like, I come home to hear this news, but I just led one of the biggest franchises in the world. What does that mean? And is that part of my story something I'm supposed to hold only to myself, or am I supposed to share to give perspective that the impossible is possible and you can do anything you put your mind to?
Exactly. By the way, I like to say there's no such thing as impossible. Everything's possible. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that too.
Well, look, thank you for the interview. I didn't know you were doing music. I feel like a failure as a researcher, but please, I'm on multiple radio stations. Send me all the music that you're going to record and all that. I'm very interested to hear it. And thank you for being on the feature presentation. I'm looking forward to seeing the Transformers movie. Transformers Rise of the Beast comes out exactly when?
June 9th.
June 9th.
Yes.
It'll be amazing. All right. Yes. Dominique Fishback, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too.